Friends, today is an incredibly special day on our little show here. Over the past 6 years, over 400 episodes and 5 seasons, we have featured every kind of car on the show. We've featured everything from Rolls-Royce to Range Rovers, Buicks to Bentleys, but there is one car company we have not featured on the show, and that is Bavarian Motor Works. And it's very odd that we have not featured BMW on the show, especially with my history, because actually way back in the day, I worked for BMW. I actually worked in Munich putting cars together back as a university student. So it's with great pleasure that not only do we bring BMW on the show, and not just any BMW, but the all-new 2016 BMW 7 Series. So with that, let's go over a couple of highlights on this new car while we work on the full episode. And highlights, let's just say there is a lot of them. So basically, this is the competitor to the S-Class, to the Audi A8 and S8 series. But there's a couple of things that BMW is doing a little bit differently here. You know, there's the old term, the ultimate driving machine, Ford am Fahren. That isn't changing. I've already spent some time on a track here, and yes, we actually are taking this car on a racetrack. Very odd, and it's an experience that you guys will see very soon, but I digress. What's going on here is technology. So there's different ways in which the car operates as well as you interact with the car. Now we'll cover some of that stuff in the full episode, but here, like for example, take a look at the grille. Now when you think of a BMW, when you see a BMW from like 50 feet away, the first thing you notice is this double kidney grille. Now over the past couple of years, there's been many changes in technologies for internal combustion engines, and so much so that you see active grille shutters here because you don't necessarily need the airflow coming in from the grille anymore. But this is a design touch that dates back to like all the way back in the day before the Quant days of BMW. So what do you do if you're Kareem at BMW? Well, you integrate the active grille shutters, but you keep the double kidney grille. So for example, this is the individual model, so this is the fancier model. Notice the chrome accents on the active grille shutters, where here, this is the M Sport model, not an M7, but the M Sport model. This one has the black active grille shutters. And most of the time, those are actually shut, because the car really only needs air through the grille when it's really under load. Then there's another technology item, and that is something that comes in your pocket here. Believe it or not, this is not a Klingon bird of prey. This is actually the key. So for example, you can do your usual lock-unlock, but take a look at this. This is actually a display key, so you can go through and monitor functions of the car. I mean, this thing is incredible. So I can actually lock the doors, unlock the doors, I can close the windows, I can close the sunroof. It gives me status of everything outside the car as well as inside the car while you're away from the car. So think of it as like an iPhone mini, but BMW size. Now let's go over here and let's talk about some of the details in design. Now, take a look at this here. This is like an old school mirror, right? Well, not so much old school. The design touch here is you've got the housing, but then the connection to the A-pillar is this very cool little chrome piece that also hides one of the cameras. And then on the M Sport, notice what they do here. It's blacked out. Very neat little touch there. While we're looking at design touches over here, notice this Hofmeister kink here. This has been a BMW trademark for years. Now, if you look at old 7 Series or other BMWs, this piece is actually made up of multiple pieces, multiple chrome pieces or black over there. But take a look. From here all the way around to here is one single piece. Now, take it from someone who actually worked in a factory, a BMW factory. That is not easy to do, and it's definitely not easy to replicate 40,000 times a year, however many copies they make of these things a year. Another design touch that's really cool about this, so you got a vent. You know, you and I went to Road America recently, and we looked at the Cadillac CTS-V, and Dave Leone told us that he's got a vent there that extracts air that makes the car breathe more. You know, this is, at the end of the day, yes, it's a luxury car, but it still has an amazing amount of power, so you need to get more air into the compartment and get it out efficiently. So you've got this design touch of a functional scoop, but notice what they do. They run the line all the way to the back to kind of accentuate the length of the car. But that's not the only thing that they've done. Look at the taillights. the line runs from the taillight all the way through to the headlight. And then while we're at the headlight, check this out. This, I think, is one of the neatest touches about this car. So again, a BMW design touch. You've got the double kidney grille. Of course, you've got the roundel. But then notice you always have round lights on BMWs, even when it wasn't in style to have round lights like in the 80s. You've got these outlines that are lit up here, but notice now it connects to the double kidney grille. That's first for a BMW. Now, just as an aside here, the non-US cars get laser beam headlights. Yes, like literally movie laser beam headlights. Doesn't come to the US right away. It's still kind of regulatory approval. What can I say? US government's kind of slow on this kind of stuff. But from what I understand, BMW is working on that. So hopefully we will see laser beams coming out of your BMW very shortly. Another technology piece on this car here is the head-up display. BMW is not new to the head-up display part, and I've said to you guys many times over the years that every car should have a head-up display because it's simply a safety thing. Just you go where your eyes are looking. So if your eyes are looking at the road through a head-up display as opposed to some sort of infotainment or speedometer down here, hence a better feature, right? Well, the government hasn't caught up with me, but they're stopping laser beams in the car. But what they've done here is they've increased the size of the head-up display, so it's actually 75% larger. Then speaking of screens, let's go back here. This car has a multitude of screens. You've got the TVs in the back here, which, think about this, the car can be a Wi-Fi hotspot. So literally in today's day and age, you can have 2 TV screens in the back of your 7 Series, and your kids can stream Netflix so they can watch individual different movies on their TV screens in the back of their 7 Series. I don't want to sound like an old man, but kids today. And then while we're at this thing here with kids today, check this out. So we already have kind of like a BMW-sized iPhone thing here. Well, you get a tablet now with your BMW, and this kind of controls all of the functions inside and outside of the car. What this does is it can control the movement of the seats. You can heat and cool your butt from this thing. You can control the radio, all sorts of functions with this one little tablet. And notice it's not actually made by BMW. It actually is a Samsung tablet. Very neat little touch here. And this can literally be in the car, out of the car. I don't know if you guys saw when BMW first introduced this car. There is a self-parking function, and we're not talking like you see in like Lincolns or Fords where you put the car in reverse and you're in the car and it parallel parks itself. It is, you literally get out of the car, close the door, take this thing, hit a button, the car literally will put itself in your own garage by itself. Now, of course, a disclaimer here, not in the US. They're hopefully working on this and we'll get this in a couple of years. So let's put this one back here. And let's come on over here, and this is what I think this is the most exciting tech to me. Now, we've talked about all this infotainment stuff. Oh, well, by the way, when we go over the full episode, we're going to talk about this very cool thing called gesture controls, and we've demonstrated it in a rather unique way, so make sure you come back for that. This is a BMW 7 Series naked. What this is the carbon core of the car. Now, notice what BMW has done here. They have prettied this version up. There's obviously a light gray here, there's a black here, there's a carbon fiber look over here, and there is a very specific reason for this. That's because this is all very different components. And the logic is, this is real carbon fiber. It doesn't just look like carbon fiber. This over here is real aluminum. It doesn't just look like aluminum. This over here is real high-strength steel. And the logic is to lower the overall mass of the vehicle. By doing this, by putting carbon fiber as the structural integrity of the vehicle, basically the roll cage, and then putting in lightweight aluminum and high-strength steel in very specific areas, they've lowered the overall weight of the vehicle by almost 300 pounds from last year. Now, there's also some composites here, and this, think of this as learning from the BMW i series like the i8 and the i3, and what's really exciting about that, I mean, I'm a tech geek, so I love going on about this stuff, it's not just, okay, an i8's a cool car, I completely have to admit that. And it's not just cool that BMW is now taking learning from really a laboratory. That's what the i8 and the i3 are. They're a laboratory on wheels on, number one, does it work? Can you make it commercially successful? And number two, will people adopt it? And obviously people are adopting it because there's a whole waiting list for BMW i8s, and believe it or not, I'm not one of those people that likes the design of the i3, but it seems to be selling at least in Los Angeles. But I digress. But what's interesting here is the learning is carbon fiber in now a mass-produced car. I think the biggest change for BMW here is BMW has not only taken this and put it in a mass-produced car, BMW has their own carbon fiber factory in the state of Washington. So this is not just an investment in their flagship car, it's an investment in the overall infrastructure of their business. Kind of like Delta Airlines. They bought their own oil refinery. They got so pissed off with being affected by the fluctuations in not just the price of a barrel of oil, but also the actual refinery process of when the refineries want to turn it off, you're in trouble. So what BMW has done is effectively the same thing as Delta Airlines. They have controlled the cost of one of the most expensive parts of their car to the point where they can actually make it now feasible in a mass-produced car. Granted, this is an expensive car, but it's still a mass-produced car. And with that, I want to leave you guys with a question. Now, I'm not going to ask the question of would you choose this or the S-Class, we'll cover that another time. But the question is this. BMW has taken a very interesting decision by offering at the start a 740, the 6-cylinder, a 750, the 8-cylinder, and all-wheel drive and two-wheel drive versions, but also giving you this individual model. So like take a look here, these wheels, I personally, I love the 5-spokes on the M Sport over here, but this, there's something about the combo of the color and the details. I love the look of this, especially with the diamond quilted interior here and the pillow, it's just stunning. But realistically, if you were getting one of these cars, which one would you choose? Would you get the serial production M Sport with a much more capable suspension system, or would you want to kit out your own BMW individual model? And it's not just which one would you choose, it's the usual, why would you choose it, and what individual options would you put on your 7 Series? Let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I do want to take a moment and say thank you, because with you guys spending the past 6 years on this journey with us, that's what got us here to feature the 2016 BMW 7 Series. And this is the first of many to come.